Mirrors and Dreams, Book 2 of the Unseen Scar series, written and narrated by C.R. Saxon. Chapter 25. Bitterness attacked his tongue, bitter and chemical. Lately Ferdinand felt oddly invigorated, though John watching him intensely was annoying and inconvenient. What can you do, a pathetic defect like you? It was too soon to hope, but when the voice spoke, it felt further away. Still, it wasn't gone. What if it only quieted down to punch him later? Easy, then I'll die. Picking up the next capsule, Ferdinand injected a dose's worth, then reached for the next. The capsules were the same used for his mints. I haven't needed them for a while. This was just as well. That meant he could modify his green tin to hold these. It'd be easier to take him with his ally around. Hard to believe this is 3 months' worth. It didn't matter. If the voice was still there, or the side effects intolerable, he wouldn't bother making more. He might not make more regardless. It's not like he was needed. Not like he was wanted. Placing the capsules in the mint tin and sealing it, seemingly conjured Oya from his closet. Her grin was so bright, Ferdinand smiled in return. Wow! What? I haven't seen you smile like that before. A deep magenta skeleton turned the gray-black of the night beyond the window. What would you like to do? Run, Oya winked. It's dangerous traveling the ocean at night. Ferdinand stumbled out a lame excuse, waiting for the red to drain from his face. Oya spun, revealing the cuffs on her wrist. Why row when we can soar through the stars? That comment, her enthusiasm, made him smile again despite himself. This feels strange. The motion of that natural smile, it was completely foreign. What right have you to be happy? Ignoring the voice, Ferdinand nodded. You're right. Fly with me? Maybe the medicine hadn't fully kicked in yet. Maybe his body finally recovered from the torture it survived. But for the first time in months, he had energy to spare. I'd love to. Oya laughed and tossed him a set of cuffs. In turn, Ferdinand handed a small bag to her. I made masks and goggles so we can go as fast as we want. A toothy grin split her face. Within moments, she was climbing through the window, mask, goggles, and cuffs in place. The night sky loomed overhead while she waited for him. After checking their speakers and earpieces were connected, and her mask was on properly, they were off. Oya called it a race, but it was closer to a battle. Each took turns dodging and weaving, avoiding being tagged by the other, and trying not to be passed. Soon they were physically throwing each other off course. Even when he pushed her away from the outer islands, and when she tricked him back to the main one, they just kept going. Faster, faster, faster! The goal should have been his island, but her feet didn't leave the earth once she landed on the main one. Running, battling, playing here. It was too dangerous, but it's late. No one's awake at this time. And he needed to run. He needed to move. This felt so good his usual concerns melted away. He simply stopped caring. Time meant nothing. They kept at the chase, running without regard to where they were, and once Oya convinced him she'd forgotten about their original goal, she bolted high, then soared out to the horizon. Tricky! Blood-red hair didn't get too far ahead before he caught up and they started their battle again, escalating until they landed on Ferdinand's island this time. Both were panting and laughing. Now that we're here, Oya yelled and dashed off, leaving Ferdinand behind in a cloud of sand. Cheater! His body was light, and energy coursed through him. It had been so long since he ran without restraint. This feels nice. Each step melted away his aches. The crisp, cool night air, the soft call of a calm ocean, the diamonds decorating black velvet above. And just ahead of him, getting closer with every step, was the only one to ever call him friend. Closing his eyes, he wished this would continue for eternity. And nothing told him he didn't deserve such a treasure. My heart's light. I can run forever. I never want this repose to end. This break, he needed it desperately. Wild green eyes glanced at him. She needed this too. Oya leaned forward, pumping her legs faster. He'd never come so close to catching her. It surprised them both, but they didn't stop. Not until they were exhausted. Not until he couldn't hold his eyes open any longer. There was the door to Evelyn's dreams. All he had to do was open it. Warmth and color awaited him, as did his little sister. But there was one problem. I'm ready when you are. Lounging against the door was an ethereal Emil. He's still here. Yes, you'll never be rid of me. Chuckles as insubstantial and as translucent as Emil haunted the space between them. I applaud your efforts, but in the end, you'll realize it's in vain. At least I tried. Turning, Ferdinand walked into the perfect darkness. He might as well wake up and play with Oya if Evelyn was out of reach. That beautiful door, that perfect respite, that healing balm, it was locked, and it'd stay locked until Emil was gone. All he had now was time, and he'd bide it, because in the end, if Emil wasn't gone, he'd rid the world of 2 nuisances. It was too late to be called late, but too early to be called early. And yet Zephyr couldn't sleep. His chest was too tight to breathe. Energy built, threatening to burst out of his skin. Yesterday barely ended, but he couldn't lay there any longer. Slipping into some loose clothing, the prince headed outside. I have hours to run. A light jog was his warm-up before giving his legs every ounce of speed he had. The rhythm of movement took over, freed his mind. Normally he planned his day and mentally went over schoolwork. Sometimes he daydreamed. But not today. He didn't want to think. He wanted to forget, even if it was impossible. The rhythm sped up. Focus. The silence. It was pleasant. Hold on to this. None of that music the scientists introduced marred the air. No voices, no laughter, no screams. Just the light whistle of a gentle breeze. The diamond-encrusted coal-black sky reflected off the water. It was lovely. His attention lingered on it until the split. Ahead and up the hill, or left through the meadow. The hill was more intense, so he veered that way. And it led to an unexpected find. Giggles floated out to meet him. Who'd be up at this time? Zephyr shifted into the shadows and softened his steps. Cresting the hill brought the giggler into view. The giggler and her companion, short spiky hair atop a lean body, ran just ahead of a tall, gangly stick figure. The girl turned, running backwards, and shouted something. Chuckles from the tall one answered. Moving further inland, Zephyr navigated shadows to get nearer. Ever so slowly they outpaced him despite his efforts. There was only one person with a silhouette like that, but Ferdinan couldn't run well, let alone efficiently. Except when I first met him. Turning, Zephyr cut their distance, nearing the beach in time to watch them pass. It really is him. Who's the girl? An overwhelmed mind slowed Zephyr's feet. What's going on? Something tugged at his heart, urging him to keep watching. Speeding up, the prince cut through the trees to catch up again. For miles, not once did Ferdinan trip or slow down. The girl was impressive, but his cousin was more graceful than her. And not just graceful, fast. Too fast. The distance Zephyr ran was considerably less, yet with all his efforts they kept pulling ahead. There's no way Ferdinand's faster than me, even with crazy long legs. Am I dreaming? Is the elf woman watching, ready to laugh at me? This can't be real. Just when the prince thought he'd catch up, that strange girl soared into the sky, Ferdinan on her heels. Okay, this is a dream. Heading back to the dorms, Zephyr ran to his room, where he waited to wake up.